You are now tuned in to HBCU Live with National Alumni Council President Anthony H. Brown and Common Black College Application founder Robert Mason and producer Tia Mache Johnson. This is not just a show, it's an experience. It's a conversation with intention, purpose, and focus. So for the next hour, join us here on HBCU Live.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another show. HBCU Live is not just a show.
It's an experience.
Experience, y'all. Hey, again, I'm Anthony Brown. I got our producer, Tia Mache. I got our man with the plan, Robert Mason. We are so glad. Today is May 27, 2020, and we are so glad you are here to be a part of this experience and so we can have this wonderful conversation. But before we even get started and talk about our guest today and talk about any current events, how y'all doing? What's going on?
I am fantastic, and I'll tell you why.
Please do.
I'm glad you asked that question. I have been doing these little old school workouts, again, that you laughed at me about. There you go. But let me tell you something. For the first time in about a month and a half, I was sitting on the couch, and I was eating. And I turned a certain way, and you know what I saw?
What'd you say?
What?
I saw an ab.
All right now.
I turned just a little bit to the right, and I saw an ab, and I'm like,
just a little to the right.
Just a little to the right. So I'm like, okay. So all of y'all out there that are laughing at it, brother, as he goes through his old school workout, is working.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. What you trying to say, man?
I'm just saying, oh, really? That's all I said. That's all.
Y'all want to clown it, brother.
Really?
Y'all want to clown it, brother. But
Get your workout on. I'm happy about it.
Absolutely. Plus, not to mention the fact, I know we're doing the distancing thing, but, you know, I live in a building. They finally opened up my gym. I go down about 4 o'clock in the morning when no one's there. So I am really feeling good about things. I'm going to give up the Oreos for a couple days.
Oh, no. Slow down.
Hey, look. I made some tuna that I've been eating for the last 4 days. Can you eat tuna for 4 days? Is that
Yeah, you can eat tuna for 4 days if you want
but
to.
it's the same tuna. It's not a different pack.
So,
it's good for
what
4
you
days.
mean?
I mean,
it's not.
It's not a different pack. So I might need to stop eating it after 2. Maybe.
It's usually only good about 3 or 4 days, and then you need to stop.
Today's the 4th day, so I need to finish it up today.
You need to get rid of it or eat it or get rid of it.
But look, but again, I'm elated, man. I mean, I'm really happy about that. One other thing I want to share with you, I know we're not bringing a student on today because we have 2 fantastic guests. So I want to congratulate Nashia. She sent me some information. She said that she received $463,000. Wow. And again, for those of you who don't know, I'll let Anthony does such. And you want to do a little promo about the app because you do such a phenomenal job. And then I'll do this. And then I'll do this.
Listen, sure. So first of all, again, ladies and gentlemen, part of this program is being brought to you by the Common Black College application. Again, that's one application, one transcript, one test score. You upload it through the Common Black College app, app.com. Go to that website, and matter of fact, I'm gonna give you a special link. So don't put the link out there just yet, because I got a special link for you all today to use. So
Okay.
So I can be able to celebrate and track the students that we actually connect through this social media platform. So again, once you upload your app, once you do the application, it goes to 55 55, count it, 55 HBCUs simultaneously. Every admissions representative can open an application and have decisions and start having conversations with the students, as well as a student can be able to go and start looking at scholarship offers, and start applying for scholarships and everything right through the portal. They can talk to a representative right through the portal application. They can go back and make any updates and things like that. It's a very user-friendly platform and system. Again, one application, one test score, one transcript. And right now, for a limited time only, you can do all of this for only $20.
I told y'all Anthony does a phenomenal job.
Where can you do an application? Where can you go and do 55 applications for $20?
Nowhere.
You can do it right here,
Absolutely.
right now.
And guys, look,
Anthony, go talk about it. Go talk
Anthony
about
said
it.
he has a link that he's going to be giving you guys. So we might use it as a hook to hold you on for a minute or two. But you definitely want to get that link. But the person I'm telling you about, her name is Nashia. And Nashia used the app, and she received $436,000 in scholarship offers and 27 acceptance letters. So again,
Wow.
we're not able to have Nashia on today. I promised her that we'll bring her on at some point later. But again, because of these two guests that we have, we weren't able to have her on. But we'll definitely do that. So, Brother Anthony, I know you have a lot to talk about with you and your 50,000 followers.
Is it 50,000? I haven't even checked.
You're right, you haven't checked.
Is it 50,000? I don't even know. But stay tuned, because after we do this show, about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to come back and do an HBCU live after party over in the group called HBCU Alumni United. Now, listen, I'm multitasking. I'm trying to send Tia a link. Tia, how you doing? Let me just talk to you real quick. Just kind of do a check-in with you doing real quick.
I am doing really, really good. Although my partner's in crime. Can you guys hear me okay? Although my partner's in crime didn't tell me I didn't have no light. My makeup wasn't right. My background wasn't right. See, ladies, this is why I can't rely on men to tell you nothing. Nothing.
You look fantastic. You look fantastic.
Okay. It's all right. I'm doing well. Busy, busy, busy.
Awesome.
But excited on what we have planned. And just so you guys are aware, in June, we're going to be changing our day. So I think that's something important to let everybody know.
So let's talk about that real quick.
Let's do that. Let's let them know. Right.
So starting in June, we're going to be moving our HBCU Live experience to Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. So Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. You will still find us on the same channel, on the same network, the Common Black College Application on Facebook. I'm encouraging you not only to watch us on Tuesday, but I'm encouraging you to share. I think the problem is that we tend to watch, we tend to be consumers, but we have to learn to share within our networks and with outside of our networks the abilities and capabilities that a lot of students may not be aware of. You'd be surprised. You may think your students have heard everything there is to know about HBCUs and the opportunities that are there, but a lot of times they are not well versed in what an HBCU is, what the experience looks like. And we hope that by watching the HBCU Live experience, they get a taste of the amazing alumni that come out of HBCUs and the amazing educators that are at HBCUs and the amazing opportunities that they will have attending an HBCU. So again, Tuesdays, 7 p.m., tune into the same station and channel and enjoy the HBCU Live experience.
Right. Okay. So now that we get it out, I've been over here trying to multitask. Y'all, I was discombobulated. First of all, listen, we're not at 50,000 yet. We are closely on our way. We are at 41,000. I think I have about, let's see, how many people I got at the door? We got 7,000 people trying to get into the club, and we're gonna let some other. We're gonna let
7,000.
7,318 right now. Who want to get to the club. That's what I call it.
Amazing.
And so we're going to have a conversation with them tonight. So if you're an alum and you are a part of that experience, we're going to be doing an after party over there around a little bit after 9:30 over there. And we're going to have a courageous conversation. We're going to talk to some people about some things. Understand something real quick. Whenever y'all join a Facebook group, let me get real preachy real quick and let me start talking. Whenever you join a Facebook group of any kind, make sure you read the fine print. Stop just joining groups and being a part of stuff, and you don't even know what the guidelines and the rules are. OMG! Listen, because some of y'all been not coming for me necessarily, but y'all been coming for the people, and this ain't that kind of party. Listen, we all about trying to uplift and support. Listen, we're losing too many people out here. No, we want to just lift up the prayers and the family, in prayer and thank to the families, especially this young man who just got. It's not safe for us as black men out here in these streets. Bottom line. And the last thing we can be doing is sitting here fussing about you want to put sugar or butter on some grits. We got a lot more things that we can be talking about other than that. Come on, y'all. We got to do better. And if you don't know, just chalk it up to your ignorance because you just didn't know something. But on the other side, it's stupidity when you know and you don't utilize the knowledge that you have. So stupidity versus ignorance. I ain't mad at you, but come on, do better. Y'all supposed to be educated college professionals. Act like it.
Amen.
Wow.
Time.
That's quite an admonishment, bro. That was, you felt that one, didn't you? You had to get that one out, didn't you, bro?
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, on today's show.
Hey, by the way.
I know, right? On today's show, we got two of Robert's good friends. He's been, they're based right there in Atlanta, Georgia. Daryl Ledbetter. He's an Atlanta Falcons beat writer with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And then we also got Ernie Scruggs, who is the race and culture reporter, also with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And both of these, one is Omega. Yeah.
No. You said both Omegas?
No, I said one. I'm sorry. One is and the other is that member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So we want to make sure that, but we're going to go like this. So we're going to let them in, and we're going to have this nice, courageous conversation with these gentlemen about what's happening in our current world, our environment, some of the things they do in their industry. Also talk about their undergraduate life and all that good stuff. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. We are so glad that you are here. Make sure you turn your microphones on so we can make sure that we can
welcome.
How y'all doing?
Awesome. So again, welcome to HBCU Live. It's not just a show.
It's an experience.
And so we are so glad to have you here and have a great conversation for the next 45, 30 minutes, however long it'll take us to get through this today. And we're going to just have a great time while we're doing it. And so Daryl, let's start with you. Again, just give us a quick little background, who you are, what you do, what school did you go to?
Right here, Howard University, class of 1984, BA in journalism. I was, a member of the Mega Psi Phi fraternity on the yard, editor-in-chief of the newspaper. The Hilltop, award-winning editor, and a long career in journalism. But my foundation at the HBCU allowed me to go to the University of Cincinnati and attend law school, admitted to the bar in the great state of Wisconsin. But, teaching law, not practicing here these days, but mostly a journalism career, been covering the Falcons for the last 15 years, and I'm in the sports writing field, and I won't take any more of your time. Thanks for letting me
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Cool, amazing. Ernie, come on. Don't get your intro out.
How y'all doing today? My name is Ernie Suggs. I am also a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I've been here since 1997 covering race and culture. I attended the great North Carolina Central University, as you can see right here, one of the finest black colleges in the land, as you all know. I also, like Ledbetter, I was the editor of my school newspaper, the Campus Echo. I was the first person to be editor 2 years in a row. I was a junior and senior as editor, an award-winning paper, as you may know. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. As you can see,
don't pick that thing up again, man. Don't pick that thing up.
Always by my side.
Man, put your hat on, Led. Put your hat on.
Right, because you had to go put on something. Real quick.
Hey, see, y'all taking up my time. The Qs are taking up my time.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Do your thing.
Okay, so, I graduated from North Carolina Central in 1990. Been at the paper since 97. It was a great experience. The experience led me to go to Harvard. I was a Harvard Nieman Fellow in 2008, 2009. So it's been a great experience. NCCU's done wonders for me and my family, all my friends. And I'm just happy to be here, happy to be a graduate of an HBCU. Specifically, happy to be a graduate of North Carolina Central University.
Let me ask you both this, because I'd be curious to know, what was it that inspired you to become a reporter or to go into that field of work?
I'll take that, Ernie. Yeah, I in junior high school, I started writing for the junior high paper. I delivered the Plain Dealer. From age 11 to 15, I worked down there in Cleveland, Ohio.
I said Plain Dealer.
Oh my God! No, you didn't, Led. You opened up another can of worms, bro.
What? We got another Clevelander on the phone.
All right.
So yeah, so delivered in the blizzard of '77. So I've been around newspaper. I planned on practicing law, but I kept working at the newspaper because I knew I could do it. And I did practice law for a little while, but I just I liked writing sports. Started traveling the country, and covering the Olympics in Sydney. I guess we could say the world. As one of one of the top sports writers in the country. Covered the Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls. So it was in my blood to be in journalism and to be around sports. And fortunately for me, we're able to still do it. And it's been a long journey, but a very fun and exciting one.
Awesome.
Right. For me, I've always been interested in media. I grew up in New York City before I moved to North Carolina when I was 13 years old. But when I grew up in New York City, we had all these newspapers, New York Times, Daily News, New York Post. And I would just go by the corner store and literally, and I've written this several times in essays or whatever about my personal narrative, I would steal newspapers. I had cousins and friends who would steal candy and all that kind of stuff. I would steal newspapers and take them home and read them.
Wow.
When I moved to North Carolina, it's, just like Ledbetter, I started delivering the Rocky Mount Telegram. That was like my first job as a paper delivery boy. I joined my high school newspaper. And also when I was in high school, and I think Ledbetter mentioned this, when I was in high school, I lived in a small town in North Carolina. So we only had one or two sports writers for the local newspaper. So they would hire high school stringers to write about high school sports. So whenever my high school was out of town, when the other reporter couldn't go, I would be the reporter covering Rocky Mount Senior High football games and basketball games. So that's how I kind of got my first step into journalism. And also kind of like, there weren't a lot of people out there who looked like me in Ledbetter in the 1980s or 70s, whenever we started. So I looked at people like Brian Gumbel, who was like that only guy out there at the time. And I wanted to kind of be like Brian Gumbel because there weren't a lot of role models out there. And Brian Gumbel was one of those kind of guys who was in the media, who was doing something that I perhaps wanted to do. So I kind of got into journalism, went on to do it in college, and been lucky enough to be doing it now professionally since 1990. Since I graduated from college, I've always worked in a newsroom.
Wow.
I was curious and wanted to know how has the industry changed from when you were in undergrad to your current career, but then how it's changed since March to now?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ernie.
I was an undergrad from 1985 to 1990. Me and some of my journalism classmates are on this call now. We were cutting and pasting and writing and reporting and, just kind of doing basic stuff, learning kind of that basic old school way of journalism. And even now, the way things have changed with the internet and online stuff, I was trained that way. So I still kind of live that way in terms of how I do my journalism. But it's changed. From when I started in 1985, you say as an undergraduate, to now, it's changed the whole 2 or 3 generations. Even when I started at the newspaper in 1997 at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, we have 500 reporters. This is before COVID and all this kind of stuff. We have 500 reporters. Now, Ledbetter, we got about 150, and we're doing everything. I used to write a story when I started. I would write a story. My editor would edit it. A copy editor would edit that. They would send it off. Now I'm writing my own stories. I'm writing my own headlines. I'm promoting it online. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And Ledbetter is doing that kind of stuff tenfold because he's doing sports and he has to, I'll let him tell it, but it's changed 180 degrees.
Wow. Daryl, what you got?
Yeah, Anthony, and I don't know how old you are, but there used to be a paper in Cleveland called the Cleveland Press.
I remember the Cleveland Press because I do remember. I remember the budget of 77, by the way, too.
Okay. Yeah, so I graduated in 84. The press folded in 85. So, my buddy Wayne Moss was, I interned at the Plain Dealer in 84. But my first job was at the Charlotte Observer. So I'd interned in the South at Newport News, Virginia, the Greensboro Daily News and Press. And then, so I somehow ended on the Southern swing after interning in Cleveland. Spent some time in Cincinnati at the Cincinnati Enquirer. Then I was at where I went to law school and worked at the same time. And then I went to Milwaukee, took the bar, covered the NBA, Packers, and Marquette. and then came to Atlanta. But the biggest change for me, like Ernie said, is, of course, the internet and the digital era. I don't have a typewriter or a porter bubble to lug around. It's a laptop now. We're not cutting and pasting. We, just sending buttons. But it's just the shrinkage. I'm tying all together back to the Cleveland Press. Is most places maybe have one paper now and a bunch of smaller communities. But the shrinkage of journalism, the arc of the printed word is maybe at some point we're going to have all digital stuff, or maybe just a Sunday paper. We don't know when that is, but we've been fortunate enough to ride that downward trend and still be, viable and pertinent in the lives of our readers. And for me in sports, it changed to a point where, I'm like Ernie writing a story, then, waiting for, if they don't call you back, then everything was good. But you wait till you get the all clear before you go grab that first beer or whatever. But now I got to edit. I'm probably going to post a video with the story. And maybe, my pictures are horrible, but I gotten better because, people want to see stuff. So, I try not to shake with the video, and I try to, get good on that. But, that was something I didn't think I'd be doing. But, now you are a true multimedia journalist. You have to go on all platforms, whether you got to, do radio shows, TV stations, write
Podcast.
Podcast, by the way, plug my podcast, The Bowtie Chronicles, everything you need to know about the Atlanta Falcons. So, you got to be able to go on all those platforms and, maintain, your professionalism and reporting at a high level. So
let me ask this, guys, because I'd have to assume now that you have to take on all of these different tasks, and it kind of leads right into what I really wanted to ask even before you address that. At HBCUs, you have to do a number of different things because you may not have the resources that majority schools have. Are you now finding that as a result of some of the things that you learned at your respective institutions, that you're now having to incorporate those same things, not if it's not exactly the skill set that you need to do a podcast, but the mentality, the mindset that you have to know now that you have to take on all of these things and still be 3 times better potentially than your colleague?
That's nothing new. I mean, when I graduated from college and my first job was in New York City, I knew I had to be better than everybody else. I knew I was the only for example, I was the only black intern in my internship class in 1988, and I was hired by that same paper when I graduated in 1990. So I knew I had to be better. I knew my copy had to be cleaner. I had to dress. I had to be dressed every day when I come to work. I had to have a haircut, which I don't have now. Unfortunately.
Not many of us do, but I don't need it.
We always, and I think we all know, as soon as we graduate, as soon as we get that first job, we always have to be better. Our skills have to be better. We have to prove ourselves every day, and we're still doing that every day. So, I'm working from home now, but I get up every morning, dress like I'm going to work and do my job because I know that I don't have, I've been there for a long time, but I always know, always in the back of my mind that I always have to be better than everybody else.
What about you, Led?
Yeah, during my time at Howard, we, you did a little bit of everything. Of course, I was the announcer for the football team. I was a public address announcer for the football team. So that led me to radio and to be able to do podcasts. I never got behind the camera because, back then everything was split. You just wrote stories. The camera, TV people went their way and the radio people went their way. But I did go on WHMM, I think it's now WHUR once, and did a show because I was editor of the paper. It was about deployment of missiles in Europe. So I had a staff go get the papers from the Congress to brief me on, how many missiles were in Europe and where they were and how they were a threat to the United States interest. So we had resources, and you just had to learn how to use them. And, being around the wonderfully talented people that I had on my staff and in the School of Communications, you speak up. If you don't know something, you don't, run around and act like you don't know it or act like you do know it when you got a a talent base like you do around you at Howard. So, and you've reached out to them from starting at that time as classmates to this very day. So, you know, that was one of the beauties of being at Howard and transferring those talents into journalism career.
Anthony, let me ask this real quick before I forget. Guys, in this current era, in this political climate, reporters can very well have a target on their backs. What were your experiences, or what have been your experiences when you venture beyond your colleagues and you're saying to people that I'm a reporter, I'm the press? How are you perceived? Because at one point in time, it was, and it's still in my mind, is a very noble profession. You know, because you're standing on the wall in the same way that I view many veterans standing on the wall. You're the difference between what's real and what's not in many cases. So how are you perceived, again, outside of your circles when you tell people what you do for a living?
For me personally, you know, I cover race and culture, so I'm always on the forefront of what's going on in America. You know, if not for COVID-19 right now, if not for COVID-19 right now, there's a great chance that I could have been in Minnesota right now, covering what's going on down there. But, you know, things have changed politically. Things have changed in terms of how people perceive us. But people have always been kind of suspicious of the media. But one thing I've always said is that no one has ever accused me of lying, or no one has ever accused me of showing favoritism for anybody, for anything. So I've always come across my job as being fair and honest. And that's all I can do. As long as I'm fair and honest and present both sides of a story, then that's all I can do. And, you know, I've never felt physically threatened. And I've covered Klan rallies right up here at Stone Mountain in Georgia. I've covered very tense things. I've covered Republican events in which the press is not always welcome. Black, especially a 6'3" black man, is not always welcome. You know, but I've never, you know, people have always, and, you know, even when I write stories, you know, I don't know if Ledbetter gets this, even whenever I write a story, because all of my stories are mostly about race. And I've written a lot about, for example, I've written a lot about health care and how African Americans are disproportionately affected by the COVID crisis. I got tons and tons of letters from people saying, who cares? Why are you writing about this? Why are you bringing up race in this kind of situation? So I'm always kind of confronted with it, but you know, I just let it go, and no one's ever confronted me.
Ernie and Daryl, I want to ask you both a question just along the same vein that you're kind of discussing now. Does fake news exist? Does fake news exist? Is that
It always has. It's just been called propaganda. And I know in my field in sports, it's changed to the point where, you know, you got the NFL network owned by the NFL trying to cover the NFL teams while acting like acting like a news network. Wow. Okay. Now, Michael Vick Dog they tried to cover it, but you know, they wasn't trying to break no news on that. I mean, they got a vested interest in what they do. Even the teams now, you know, they're not really trying to help the unpaid media, the real true media, because they got their own website and their own teams now. So, you know, they feel like they could tell their own story. And now with the pandemic, when we get back to sports, if we do, you know, they're gonna let their people in to cover the team, whereas we're gonna probably be at a distance and at a disadvantage and trying to get you the real story. So in that regard, we always called it propaganda. You got to know where the information's coming from. I don't know how the NFL is gonna give you unbiased reporting of their own team. Network.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Another question for you guys real quick before we did get a question from our Facebook feed, and the question would be a real nice one. What is the best advice that you can give a 2020 graduate that's going into this industry, especially in journalism? What could you share with them?
One of my old professors, Kip Ranch, always told me that the best journalists know a little bit about everything. A little bit about everything that they have to cover. So I'm confident, and I'm sure Ledbetter, although he covers the Falcons, is confident enough that he can go out and cover a civil rights rally or a city council meeting right now if he had to.
Oh, yeah, no question, the versatility. And then, what's worked for me in sports is when sports and the law collided. I covered the Pete Rose baseball trial. I covered the Michael Vick dog fighting trial. And whenever that goes, that's the best thing, for me. But yeah, I could certainly go to the City Hall meeting. My internship at the Plain Dealer was on the news side. It wasn't on the sports side. So I've been to, library meetings where they're talking about millages and votes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, versatility is key. You don't know where you're going to land, and you don't know where a job's going to be. So
okay. So now, speaking of versatility, and thinking about you both being as journalists, and looking at the four people on the screen, not you, Tia, just looking at the four that's on the screen as black men. And we just lost another black man, George Floyd, in this senseless situation that just happened yesterday. As a journalist, how does this impact you? Because as you're writing stories about other things, but then every so often it seems like it's coming more frequently than not. And then right earlier in the day, we saw another black man who fortunately was able to videotape a situation like, look, sweetie, I'm just riding my bike, want to watch the birds, and you trying to blame me for something. What is it that makes it seem like, what is this? I don't even know what I'm trying to say with this storyline. Why is it such a story? Why does it seem like it's always about the black man? And what is the threat? From your lens, why do we seem like such a threat?
That's right up Bernie's alley. I'll let him handle that.
Well, what we're seeing now is nothing new. I mean, what we're seeing now is a manifestation of 400 years in America. What is new is videotape.
Right.
So what is new is that we can see Mr. Floyd's death. We can see Eric Garner's death. And you talk about how it kind of impacts us as black men or it kind of impacts us as reporters. There was a period of time for me personally, and I've talked about this in terms of like mental health and things of that nature for black men. There was a time for me, starting with Ferguson, where every month I was flying somewhere to write about the death of a black man, whether it's Ferguson, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's South Charleston or North Charleston or Charleston for the Charleston massacre. I covered the two biggest mass shootings in American history in Las Vegas and Orlando. So what we're seeing now is nothing new. It's just that we have new means in which we can relate that information. That Floyd murder or that murder in Brunswick of Arbery, this stuff is videotaped. What would have happened? What would we be talking about if this guy in Brunswick, Georgia, or this man in Minnesota had not filmed it? We wouldn't even be talking about this. Absolutely. But this stuff is happening every day in all these other communities that we never even know about.
I saw a meme just recently, with a picture of Will Smith. I'm not just a meme, but you see it traveling on social media now, where he says basically racism isn't getting worse; it's just getting filmed.
Right, exactly. and that's exactly what's going on. Let me ask you this: I'm kind of curious to know, as you talk to these ball players who one day lived in a project and the next day they're multimillionaires, how conscious are they in terms of what's going on in our community as a result of the Kaepernick situation? Do you find that these brothers, as they come into the league now, because it amazed me, I was in Alabama at the All-Star game, and these brothers overnight went from being broke to multimillionaires once they signed that contract. Again, how prevalent is the consciousness, and do you kind of take it upon yourself to pull some of those brothers aside and say, look, man, these are some of the things that you need to consider that's going on, not just in the league, but in this world?
Well, yeah, as an objective reporter, you want to, acknowledge their work in the community. Some of them do, a lot of the teams do a good job of getting their players out into the community. But I'm talking about not just your local neighborhood United Way setup, but, going into the neighborhoods, going into the fire stations, police stations. And, some guys are, some guys aren't. You got to cover the business of football. But I had the pleasure of meeting Malcolm Jenkins when he was a college grad coming right out of Ohio State, out of the IATA side chapter up there. And, he's a kid I've enjoyed watching along the way, be very progressive and be out front of a lot of issues. But yeah, I don't think the number's very high. They're in that grind. Maybe when they get out, they'll do more. But a lot of them, they've been privileged. They've been pampered, catered, pushed ahead of everybody in the name of football. But as far as them, looking back, my whole thing is, hey, just take care of your family. I'm not expecting you to take care and solve all the world's problems.
Right.
It's your family. Take care of your people. And if you got time to do something for the community, which everybody does, then, let's do that.
No, that definitely makes sense. And Ernie, I want to ask, kind of following up on what Tia was talking about in terms of fake news. I was looking at a post today on Facebook, and in my mind, it was clearly fake news. And I'm not going to say what the post was, but is there anything that you can suggest to those that are on these social media pages when they see something come down their timeline to say, wait, I need to research this. I can't just take this for face value. What do we do as a people to try to address it? Because as you know, as we go into this political season, we're going to see more of this quote unquote fake news. And we truly have to be careful what we internalize. And more so, not just what we internalize, but what we disseminate. I see people that I think are quote unquote educated disseminating some of this information. I'm like, are you kidding me? All you had to do was do a quick Google and you could find out that this is not true. How do you address that with your friends, and how do we address that as a people?
Well, I think you got to figure out what the source is. I tell everybody, before you send me anything, especially in the inbox or whatever, verify where it came from. Like you said, do a quick Google search. And it's very easy because there's so much out there. We're being inundated with so much in social media that a lot of the stuff is fake. And we just got to be very diligent. I tell everybody all the time, understand where the source is, click on it yourself. A lot of people click stuff and haven't read it. They haven't read the story, don't know where it comes from. Just click on it, just see where it is. And the fake news kind of thing, because it's kind of, the definition of it has kind of changed. You all obviously have fake news. What's going on right now with Scarborough, for example, murdering his intern? That's fake news. But another definition of fake news has come about is news that you don't agree with, news that doesn't follow your political philosophy. That has become fake news. And everyone's, a lot of people say things that I've written is fake news, but it's not fake news. It's just what you don't agree with.
I don't like it, so I'm gonna say it ain't right.
Right.
Yeah. So there's kind of two narratives you're talking about when you talk about fake news. But in terms of the real fake news, the real stuff that's not true, verify it before you send it. Read it before you send it. And have common sense, have common knowledge.
Yeah, that would help.
I mean, when you got people talking about sex rings in the bottom of pizza shops, that doesn't make common sense. And you're still sending that stuff out. You got to ask yourself the question, what are you doing?
And can I double back to our discussion Ernie was talking about? It's been around. It's been 400 years. I think, and certainly the landmark case, that's what I was looking at when I was looking down. Nebraska Press Association v. Stewart, 1976, was the first Supreme Court case to allow cameras in the courtroom. Okay, ever since 76, cameras in the courtroom gives you court TV, gives you OJ, gives you that whole era of TV. Camera phones. Now, we're recording these lynchings on the street now that have been happening after that. Tony Brown, Tony Scott, Walter Scott's brother, knew him from Johnson C. Smith up at a road chapter up there. That was his brother, Walter Brown. If a kid doesn't pull out that phone and record the cop shooting him in the back, we wouldn't have known about that. So these have been happening. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna start seeing more and more. And certainly Minnesota's a fine city. A lot of Fortune 500 club companies up there. I lived up that way in Wisconsin. The black folks I meet from Minnesota are the finest people you want to meet. But but you still got a police force that's willing to. This wasn't the first time in Minnesota. It's the Castile case, now this case, but now because of Nebraska Press Association v. Stewart, the cameras being allowed everywhere, we're going to see more of this. Now we can fix it. I mean, the cameras being shown in the civil rights movement with the fire hoses being placed on the folks changed the whole narrative of the civil rights movement. Yeah. So now we have to do it again, to where the bad police got to go. We can't, there's no reason to be on that guy's neck for 10 minutes. I mean, okay, you got mad, he ran from it, whatever, you tightened him up a little bit, but that don't give you the license to kill him.
Yeah. So guys, I'd be curious, and I know Anthony probably has a question, but I want to get this out before I get, I know Anthony, bear with me, please. Twitter and all that's going on right now as far as them adding these comments when they deem that the president has told a mistruth or however you care to characterize it. I view you guys as the personification of all that's communication. So that's why I'm asking these sort of broad-reaching questions. What are your thoughts about what Twitter is doing, and what do you think the responsibility of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is to the general public when it comes to this kind of thing?
Well, that's, Ledbetter was bringing out, legal cases. I think this is kind of like the next legal front that we're going to face in terms of media, social media. As you saw, the president is really upset about what Twitter is doing. And what Twitter is doing, for the listeners who don't know, is that on some of the president's comments, they're saying, here's a link to verify what he's saying, which is unprecedented. But it's what people have been begging Twitter and Facebook to do for a long time. One thing about Twitter is that they have not, and they said that they were not going to take down his tweet in which he accuses that Scarborough of killing that intern or that woman. So there's still a long way to go, and Ledbetter may have a better legal response to this than I do, but I think this is kind of like a nip in terms of what this whole problem is. They're a tiny part of addressing that.
Yeah, no, it's the legal, and my FCC scholars, I've been monitoring the internet. This is the Wild West. It's the new frontier. So we're going to have to just hold on and ride for a while.
Wow.
And I have seen a lot more of social media on other platforms where they're starting to flag things saying, hey, this is not true, or this is questionable, or this is subject to verification. You may not want to look at this yet. And it's just taken. I love how you said the FCC. I have not heard that term in a while. I'm an FCC license somewhere. I thought, like, wait a minute, I got one of those. And I think we just need some more of those people out there with those eyes and ears to just kind of make sure that what's being put out there is right information.
Anthony, if you check in your chat, you'll see there's a question out of the Facebook room for the.
All right, so what do you guys think will change the narrative for killing people of color, and what will happen to get what will have to happen to get things changed? So, what do you guys think will be the narrative? Can change the narrative from killing people of color, first of all, and then what will happen to get things changed?
I don't think I understand the question.
Well, the first part of the question is,
let me look at it.
What will change the narrative? What needs to happen? You talked about the 400 years, and now it's being, racism is still here. It's just being televised, it's being filmed, that type of thing. But what can shift? What is going to help us shift this narrative so we're not losing another person of color? First of all,
the cops being charged with murder. Because, with them policing without any consequences, they lost their job. The union's going to fight. They're going to go to some suburb and get another job, in 18 months or so they can keep on working. So until they start getting charged with murder, this is going to keep happening. And then what we got to do as a people is separate. Because you're going to hear what about the black on black crime? And that's a whole separate other issue than police killing the victims in the street. But those are two issues that we still got to address, but on two different tracks.
So I'd be curious to know, Ernie, once you start to think about what's going on our HBCU campuses,
more importantly to me, because of what I do, what do you say to those high school students out there who might be an aspiring journalist? What kind of information do you share with them, and what kind of things that they do to help develop the skill set, to harness to do the kinds of things, to put them in a position to be where you guys are a few years from now?
Just like you would do as an athlete or an artist, you train and you hone your craft. One of my professors always told me that the best way to become a better writer is to read, and to read as much as you can. And I, as you can see, my bookshelf is full. I haven't read half of these books, but I read a lot, and I've always read a lot. And the more you read, the better you become a writer, and the more informed you are as a global citizen. So, watch the news, pick up find people like Ledbetter who you like, whose stories you like, whose writing you like, and read their writing, understand their styles. And just try to try to do as much research as you possibly can about what you want to do, about where you want to go, about what you want to do. I get a lot of college students who are, one of the sad things, and Ledbetter can probably attest to this as well, is one of the sad things I get a lot are college juniors and seniors who haven't done a lot in college, who want to be professional journalists, who want to work for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who have no clips, who, if they do have clips, there are a lot of opinion-type pieces. There's no news there. So you should start in high school, but I think a lot of college black students at historically black colleges, have to understand that they got to use that 4 years as much to their advantage as possible. Every school has a school newspaper. Most schools have TV stations and radio stations.
Right.
Because once you get to become a senior or a junior even, and you start calling me or calling Ledbetter about getting a job at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, those kids at UGA and the University of North Carolina and Missouri and Georgia State, they've already done all this stuff. They've already written for their newspapers. They've already done all this stuff. So we got to start, and I don't know where this starts, and I think this is a conversation we have to start having beyond high school. But once these kids get to college, a lot of them are not properly prepared to follow journalism or follow any field or whatever their chosen field is, because they haven't prepared themselves while they're in college. So that's the conversation that we got to start having.
Led, before you answer that question, let me say this, because it's interesting what Ernie said. I looked on you guys' sites. I looked on Howard's site in North Carolina Central. And at Central, they were saying that journalism, mass comm, is one of the most popular majors. And that was interesting to me because, I'm looking at students' applications every day. And rarely do I see students that are interested in mass communication. So what I'm reading, what I read there and what I'm hearing from you, and Led, I'd be interested to hear your opinion as well, is that the profession itself is alive and well. That there are a lot of people out, a lot of students out there that are interested in going in to the field. Is that what you're saying, Ernie? Because again, that's amazing to me. And are you, as I'm sure there's a professional black journalism? Of course it is.
Yeah,
right, absolutely. Because I've been to your conferences before. Yeah. So I'm assuming they're making a concerted effort to reach out to high school and college students. Correct?
Yes.
Right. Can you guys talk? I'm sure you guys probably belong to that organization. Can you talk a little bit about that and how students can get involved?
Yeah, I'll take that, Ernie. I'll take that, Rob. I'm one of the founders of the NABJ Sports Task Force. We founded in 1987 in Miami. And, we've grown from a group of 33 to 300 and something folks. And when you walk in the room, it's 200 kids that know you because you've been in the game. And, and I know that they are qualified. And we have workshops. We mentor them throughout the year. We have a listserv where we can contact each other daily. Job comes up and we're going to have some candidates, in sports for sure. And a lot of them, Jamil Hills came through our program, Stephen A. Smith, Mike Wilbon was in that group, Roy Johnson was one of our first presidents. So, the NABJ Sports Task Force, which I was the secretary for 10 years.
Wow.
Keeping track of all the journalists across the country. and so forth. So that network has grown, can grow bigger, can do more.
Right.
But, you know, they're probably not going to be as many newspaper jobs, probably going to be in TV, going to be on the ACC network, the SEC network, the Big Ten network, ESPN, NFL network. You know, they're going to be jobs because people like sports. And if you could tell stories, whether they're on video or, in writing, there's going to be a story to be told.
And let me also add, Robert, just not only could you be a part of this national association, many of the local chapters on the undergrad levels, and they also have chapters in the various markets and various cities. So you may be able to join not only on the college level, but you also can join, in your respective. Because actually, I'm a member of the Greater Cleveland group.
Oh wow, I didn't know that, bro.
Yeah,
it's full of surprises.
And just one more quick wrap up of NABJ. I'm the former national vice president of the organization. But I started as an intern in 1988. My first internship I was a junior in college. So it's also very, very important. If I can impart one part of wisdom, is that try when you're in college to get internships.
Right.
To get internships, because once you get an internship, you're in there. But if you don't have an internship, once you start graduating and you get to senior and you try to make up all that lost time, it's going to be very hard. So if you NABJ, look at nabj.org and try to get as much as possible from them.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow, we got the rap signs. I just want to let you know it's about that time. Unless you got one more pressing one, you got one more hot one. I'm let you get that one little hot. You got that one hot question.
Yeah. I just want to, because this is so vital to me, man. And I think
gotta be hot.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying. And again, I think they play such a vital role. Is there any information that you guys can leave in the chat room for those students that are aspiring journalists, things that they can do, or can they follow you? Give them your Instagram, your pages, so they can follow you. Real quick, Ernie, give you a quick Instagram, your Facebook pages, so they can follow you.
Yeah, at DOrlando AJC on Twitter, at DOrlando Led on Instagram. NABJ.org. Just go to that site and look for student activities and get involved in your sports information departments at your college and student newspapers and TV stations, radio stations.
You can follow me on Facebook. My paper's website is AJC Sepia. That's AJC Sepia, which is our Black content Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ernie Suggs, and that's just basically at Ernie Suggs on both of those platforms. But like Ledbetter said, man, use that college to do as much as you can possibly can. Use that newspaper, that TV station, that radio station. Reach out to people like me and Ledbetter, because we've been there, and, reach out to us.
Listen, I wanted to let you all know that someone made a comment saying there are only a handful of fellow classmates out there that are working full-time in the field, including myself. Someone wants to make sure that you all know that sometimes you may also have to create your own opportunities in this new world, in this new space that we're working in. Sometimes you have to not necessarily wait on someone. Look, we all got these cell phones now. And you all have sometimes you can craft a story and start to maybe create that blog or create that opportunity. Make sure it's factual. Do your research, do your homework, and start to create these opportunities. So as Ernie said earlier about having some experience and having something that you can have to show proof of something behind your belt, to say, this is what I've done and what I've created. Gentlemen, look, we got to get up out of here. Thank you so very much, both of you, both Ernie and to Daryl, both from North Carolina Central and Howard University, doing the thing out here, working at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, representing proud HBCU alums. Thank you for doing what you do in this world of journalism and keeping us connected, keeping us informed, and all that great stuff. I appreciate it. I'm so glad y'all are friends of Roberts and y'all can be a part of each other.
And we'll definitely have you guys back.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Take care.
you.
Be safe.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Guys.
Woo, man, listen.
Stuff, man.
And there he goes. See, there he goes. Listen, that was pretty cool. Somebody made a comment and said that this topic today was on fire.
It was.
Thank you for the feedback and some other folks. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. There's a few things we wanted to come back and do some quick wrap up. Hey, so earlier in the show, we were talking about the Common Black College application, right? And we're talking about, again, An offer. You can't beat it. How many places can you go and apply to 55 HBCUs with one application, with one transcript, and with one test score? Not too many places, but this guy right here, he created an opportunity. He made some things happen. Actually, I need to be pointing at this, but look on Facebook. You're above me. So
other way, other finger, other side. Other side.
So okay, well, anyways, he's over there. So you see him over there. And so he made a creative opportunity. Again, I keep telling everybody, like, I met this guy when he was like, probably had about 10 HBCUs on the list. Now we're up to 55. And so again, now we got a special offer. So Tia, I sent you the right link where it talks about, it's like that little ad promo.
I got it.
Boom. So in the comments section right now, I know we're just pointing all over the place, right? So applying to college just got a whole lot easier. Applying to college just got a whole lot easier. And here's a great recruitment resource for students who are interested. Even more, if you are a viewer right now and you want to help a student, you know what, Anthony, Robert, Tia, I don't have any kids who are college bound right now, but I want to help another deserving student. You can do that as well. So also on that same link, not only can you provide it and give it to right now to any class of 2020 student that just graduated this year. So any student that just graduated, class of 2020, they still haven't made their final college decision, they can do the application right now for $20. For anybody in the class of 2021, so our 11th graders who are now going to be rising seniors, right now, they can still do the application for $20. Now, again, limited time only right now. I was able to twist Robert's arm just a little bit, and we're able to offer this application until at least August. So right now, we're trying to hold off until at least August. And then we can see what happens after that.
We'll see.
Now, if you have a student that you want to support and you just want to say, hey, I want us to pay for some students. I want to pay for 5 students, 10 students, 100 students. I ain't going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you one bit. Hit that same link that's in the chat, and you can pay for as many students you want to pay for, and it'll give you a code, and then you give that student that code, all right? As easy as that. So either you give it to a student right now and let them do it themselves, or if you want to pay for the application and then give that student that code that you just paid for, that way they can just go on and pay, and it's already taken care of. I'm quite sure that'd be a great gift for any student right now as they're talking about their college decision plans and processing, and you can be right there to help them along the way. Again, 55 schools, you can't beat that. And then maybe once they get to one of their institutions they want to go to, they may decide they want to go to a school like Bethune-Cookman University
or Virginia State University.
Okay, home of the world's most famous beach. They may decide, that young man may want to decide that he wants to live in Beaver Hall, right? Listen, so I found this one website. Robert said, how do you do it?
I was wondering what this Lefevre was all about. Now it's all coming together.
So this one particular website, this company has now branded and designed. It's called Life on the Yard. And they are now designing T-shirts, and giving shout-outs or homage to some of your favorite dormitories on campus. So this was my freshman dorm. My roommate, my first year was Gerald Simmons, room 113. My freshman year, man, I had an experience right there. And so I think I had there's another teacher I can buy for my senior class, my senior year, my sophomore year. But anyway, I wanted to get my freshman year. So again, you got to go. So Tia's going to put this link in the website.
It's there.
Thank you. So it's called Lofty Apparel. It's Life on the Yard, Lofty Apparel. And you can scroll through that, and maybe you'll find your favorite school, and maybe you'll find a T-shirt, your dormitory. And
wow.
You're going to have to get Robert a T-shirt. He is feeling some kind of way.
Yeah, I am but that's I'm going to have to think about this dorm thing. I'd have to go back. I think I was in Langston Hall. I think I have to go back.
Anthony ain't got honey. He ain't got T-shirts.
Oh, by the way, you got at some point. Did you try the honey?
Yes, I did. The honey was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, honey.
Wow. Bean will be happy to know that. We'll have to let him know. So look, you're going to tell us about your after party before we roll out, right?
Oh, yes, again. So listen, Already, let me go back and check and see. So again, we are already at, I'm going to go over here and check real quick and see what the new numbers are looking like. So again, if you are an HBCU alum, again, people always keep asking, well, this is a new group. Not a new group. The group has been around since 2007. I just did a rebrand on May 8th. I did a rebrand on May 8th. And all of a sudden, we went from 5,000, and we are now at 41,260 members in the group. I think earlier, whatever the number was earlier, Robert, the number has already increased. Now we got 7,412 people ready to come into the club. So at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, or give or take, once we open the door, we're going to open the club. We're going to open the club around 9:30 party. So it's like our new membership party. We're going to welcome in some new people, and we're also going to do a little Facebook Live. And then we're going to do a Facebook Live inside of that group, and then we're going to call it the after party for this show. So this show is actually streaming right now in that group. So thank you for watching for those who were there. And we're going to do some live conversations, going to chat with some people, talk about some current events, welcome some new alumni, go over the guidelines and expectations of the group. I'm not going to go on my soapbox. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to have a lot of fun when we're there, right? Right. Let's see. Somebody said, Chandra Scott said, this platform has truly made a difference for students in Mobile, Alabama. So thank you for letting us know that the application is really being beneficial and supportive to the students in Mobile. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Take us home, my brother.
Anything else before we get up out of here?
I'm good. Take us home.
That's it. Take it home.
Gentlemen, again, this is Anthony Brown, the president of the National Alumni Council for UNCF. I got Tia Marche Johnson, who is producer of Eagle Trip Media. I got Robert Mason, the man with the plan, who's the president and founder of the Common Black College application. Again, we are not just a show, it's
an experience.
I said it all wrong.
Yeah, you did.
It's an experience. It's not a show. I didn't mess it all up, but you get the point.
That means it's time to go.
Yeah, you get the point. It's time to go. Hey, it's been fun, but we got to run to the next time. Shoot for the moon. Your mission always will be amongst the stars. Make time to take time for what another look in life has to offer. Just for you, know that you are a masterpiece. Why? Because you are a piece of the master. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.